We're living in a time of modernity, yeah? And one of the conveniences of modern living is how we bank, how we access banking services. And everywhere you go in Jamaica, there's an automated banking machine now. And they can be of significant convenience. Yeah? When I was growing up, we didn't have them. We had to plan how and when you're going to get into the banking halls and join the line to draw money, to withdraw money, your money. And you had to put aside time, yeah, and the factor in how you're going to get to the bank to do your withdrawal or your lodgement. That's how we grew up. But that was olden days. Yeah. Now you virtually can do most of your banking needs by walking up or driving up to your ABM and flash your card, and you're in and out in a few minutes. And you have to, of course, everything comes at a price, because you have to make sure you're looking around so that the place is safe and that they're not about to use one of those things to swipe your card or whatever, to skim your card. Yeah? Those are some of the downsides. But also, since we have had the introduction of ABMs over the last decade and a half in Jamaica, we have come to expect more and a higher quality of service from our banks who provide the ABMs. It's part of our progress. It's part of our development. So there's been mounting concern about the quality, reliability of the service we get from our ABMs. And don't forget, the banks have been telling us, don't come into the banking hall. The less of you in the banking hall, the better it is for us. So they have gone on a deliberate strategy, policy of keeping us out of the banking halls. Yeah? Because most of the services you require from your bank, you can do it through your ABMs or ATMs. And yesterday, the Bank of Jamaica, the central bank, their supervisors, their regulators, in responding to criticisms and concerns over the reliability of the ATMs, too often we would hear the complaints that they're not working or they're out of cash. Yes, out of cash or they're not working. Yeah. So the BOJ has now laid down some new rules, standards. Yeah? Among them, the banks are now required to ensure that at least 90% of their ABMs are working at least 95% of the time. Really? That would be good. I can name a few. Yeah? I can name a few that when you drive up to go in there, you ask yourself, is it working? Yeah? There's one in up the road at Constant Spring Road and Manningsville Road. I don't want to embarrass the people I'm inside there, so I won't name them. But they know themselves. Because every time I go there, I say, the ABM working? No, Miss, I use. Yeah? And that's 9 out of 10 times. And it's a Scotia ABM machine. Yeah. That's a Scotia ABM machine. Yeah? Not working at that location. more frequently than now. Yeah? So the BOJ is now laying down new service standards, yeah, for the banks to ensure that in accessing your banking needs and services, you should have less of an irritant to deal with about ABMs. Let's listen to some of those standards in this report from Siobhan Campbell.
According to the Bank of Jamaica, deposit-taking institutions, DTIs, have a 9-month transition period to bring themselves into conformity with the guidelines. Under the new rules, a DTI must have a minimum of 90% of ABMs operational at any time. It must also maintain a 95% uptime for operational ABMs. An ABM must not be without cash for a period exceeding 60 minutes in urban and resort areas and 180 minutes in other areas. The BOJ says compliance will be assessed through the BOJ's review and publication of monthly reports from the DTIs. However, no monetary sanctions will be applied as a result of breaches of the guidelines. But non-adherence may give rise to supervisory concerns around safety and soundness, with the attendant supervisory consequences. According to the BOJ, the standards have been issued in a context where a significant number of Jamaicans still rely on cash to conduct transactions. It's the hope of the bank that the service level standards will promote fairer treatment and enhanced protection for financial customers. The issuing of the standards follows consultations with deposit-taking institutions. The availability of ABMs has been a sore point in the public, which triggered a call for action to be taken by the Bank of Jamaica by the opposition PNP. South St. Catherine MP Fitz Jackson last year tabled a motion in Parliament calling for the central bank to set minimum service standards for ABMs. Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Thank you very much, Siobhan. And there are a number of questions, you know. By the way, one person has been able to identify the BNS machine that is usually not working. Yes? At Constant Spring Road and Mannings Hill Road. Yes? At a service station. It is notorious, and you know, BNS should fix the problem. It is at the gas station at the intersection there of Mannings Hill and Constant Spring Road. That service station, that BNS machine must be thrown out. Either you fix it or you take it out and make another bank go in there and do it. But it is notorious for not working 99% of the time. Calling them out. They need to fix it. And who is going to police this now? It's good to have these standards from the central bank. And I heard Dennis Chung and Mr. Fitz Jackson, who has been campaigning about banking services as a member of parliament for several years now, saying it's a good first step by the Bank of Jamaica. Good first step. Yeah? But there is a big question. How is it going to be enforced? The Bank of Jamaica is very reluctant to give any heavy hand in terms of regulating. They do what is called a light touch. So they make it clear that there is not going to be any financial punishment when they don't meet the working the guaranteed minimum standards. What they're going to do, they're going to tell you, the members of the public, which of the banks and the ABMs are not working. Well, let me tell you, BOJ, you can start with BNS at what's the name of the service station again? Oh, Lord. Can't remember the name of the service station, and I go there so often. The Grab and Go. It's across the road from Richie B's. Yes? It's right in the Mannings Hill Road goes to the left. Constant Spring Road goes to the right. It's a Grab and Go at Mary Brown's Corner. BNS, you can start with that one. Yeah? BNS, you can start with that one. Fix it. Yes? Because the BOJ is saying to us, we will give you the information as customers, and you will know which one is not the place to go are not working. So we could call them, start calling them out. Yeah? Because there's going to be no financial punishment for them to maintain the standards. Yeah? All right. There's that. The BOJ as well, yesterday, made a statement in which it called for a more structured approach to implementing increases for bus and taxi fares. Yes? According to the BOJ, yeah, it has also agreed to hold its policy rate constant despite concerns over inflation. Yeah? And of course, this statement about a more structured approach to implementing increases for bus and taxi fares come amid the recent developments in terms of minimum wages and the granting of increases and the inflationary effect of the bus and taxi fare increases. Right? Here's more from Siobhan on that.
Jamaica's headline inflation rate in February 2024 of 6.2% remains above the bank's target of 4 to 6%. The BOJ attributes the higher-than-targeted inflation impact on the first of two increases in public passenger vehicle fares that came into effect in October 2023. It also takes into account the effect of wage increases throughout the economy. The Bank of Jamaica says some changes in regulated prices do not reflect current demand conditions and could potentially reduce the effectiveness of its monetary policy in managing inflation. In this regard, it noted the need for more structured approaches to implementing these price changes. The criticism comes days after Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced a further increase in the minimum wage to $15,000 for a 40-hour work week. The central bank says inflation is projected to remain above the bank's target range over the March 24 to June 25 quarters, primarily due to the continuing impact of past and impending increases in PPV fares. The policy decision came out before announcements by the government that the second round of PPV fare increases had been placed on indefinite hold. It says without the impact of the two increases in PPV fares, inflation would fall within the target range of 4 to 6% for most of 2024. But despite the concerns over inflation, the BOJ remains bullish about Jamaica's economic standing. International commodity prices and shipping costs continue to decline, the exchange rate has remained generally stable, as have strong tourism and remittance inflows. The bank says the Jamaican economy continues to expand, which supports increases in aggregate demand for goods and services. Real gross domestic product for the December 2023 quarter is estimated to have grown within the range of 1 to 3%, and there are signs that the economy continue to expand in the March 2024 quarter. The BOJ says buoyancy in the economy is mirrored in the decline in the unemployment rate in October 2023 to a record low of 4.2%. The Bank of Jamaica says the risk to gross domestic product (GDP) forecast over the next 8 quarters are assessed to be on the upside. This means that actual GDP growth is likely to trend higher. Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Thank you, Siobhan. This issue of the reliability of the ABMs, is significant. The reactions I'm getting on the YouTube channel, Nationwide 90 FM live on our YouTube channel, are telling me that people are not satisfied. And they're naming several ABMs that are usually or are now notorious for not working. NCB Cedar Crest Plaza in Portmore. Yes? Usually not working. Then there's another person who told me about most of the ATMs in Portmore at the end of the month. Most of them not working. Then somebody else says to me, Cliff, BNS at the BNS Financial Center on Constant Spring Road, notorious for not working most of the time. Yeah? even inside and outside of the bank in the Oasis Plaza in Spanish Town. Inside the bank. How could that be? Not working. Yeah? And Cliff, oh, here's the other one, Jewelry Essentials. Cliff, the ATMs at the Scotia Bank itself on Constant Spring Road is never working, this person says. Roe Reed, sir, the machines can be monitored remotely. All BOJ needs to do is to review the performance report from the banks or do ad hoc audits. Yes. Beverly Ricketts says, Mrs. Tugwell Reed will sort it out today, Sir Cliff. That is the president and CEO of Scotiabank. She will sort it out today. Mrs. Ricketts, Miss Beverly Ricketts has a lot of confidence in you, Audrey. Audrey Tugwell Reed, she says. Yes. Inez Campbell, Sir Cliff, Scotiabank is the worst. And when trying to withdraw money, if there's no money at the ATM, your account is being charged for that transaction? No. Are you serious, Inez? No, they wouldn't do that. They can't do that. Inez Campbell, Scotiabank is the worst. And when trying to withdraw money, if there's no money at the ATM, your account is being charged for that transaction. Are you serious? No, that can't be. Oh. And then San says, the problems with the ATMs in Portmore are made worse because, and I quote, the BPOs in Portmore don't make our lives any easier because that's how they get paid. So every Friday is chaos, and by weekends the machine are either down or without cash, and month ends worst. That's another perspective. So the BPO workers in Portmore having hell because the machines are usually down and the BPOs pay via your bank accounts. Fabi says the BOJ now needs to put additional safeguards in place to protect people's money. So many people call in saying they lost money in these banks. Yes. Dear. All right, you can call me and tell me some more about that. Education. The Jamaica Teachers Association, the country's premier teachers lobby group, they are having their 60th anniversary this year, and they're putting on their Education Conference 2024 at the Ocean Coral Spring Hotel in Trelawney. And the JTA, in its finer moments, in its heyday, when it was being very well led, yeah, unlike in recent years, when they just yap about wages and not speak to issues relating to the education of our people. They have had a rather proud history. There was a time when the JTA was a very respected voice because they not only dealt with salaries and working conditions of teachers, but they also dealt with several other professional related issues. The performance of our students or children, trends in education, and they acted as an institution of conscience. Yes, in pushing, nudging, lobbying the Ministry of Education to fix the big issues in education. And some years ago, they started their annual education conference. I remember one of their former presidents, Nadine Malloy, she's now the principal of Arden. There was a leading figure in this regard when they had these conferences that focus on educational issues. And they're having another one this year. I'm going there this afternoon at the Ocean Coral Spring Hotel in Trelawney. And I see where the Observer is reporting this morning that the conference was addressed yesterday by the Education Minister, Favour Williams. And according to the report in the Observer this morning, Mrs. Williams cited a significant jump in the number of Jamaica's teachers now professionally trained, the country's higher literacy rates and access to high school education being the norm. She says a lot has been achieved in the field over the last 60 years. And that is true. A lot has been achieved in education over the last 60 years. Could we have done better? Of course. Always room for improvement. But we have come a long way over the last 60 years. Yeah? And the minister is quoted as saying, I believe all of us in this room and beyond were seized of the urgency of even moving the education sector higher. 60 years ago, only about 40% of the teachers then were trained. Today, we boast 10 teacher training institutions, including those with teacher education faculties, and I would say 100% of our teachers are trained. 100%. That's good. She congratulated the JTA on its 60th anniversary and noted that though there's still room for improvement, giant leaps have been made over the last 6 decades. And then she says this, 60 years ago, if I could cast your minds back, almost 500,000 adults in Jamaica were illiterate. Yes, 60 years ago, 500,000 Jamaican adults were illiterate, could not read or write. And then today, the literacy rate of Jamaica overall is 88%, significantly higher. Yes, I'm also going to say it. It is not near that of our colleagues in the Caribbean. So we do have still some way to go, even as we celebrate how far we have come. I think Mrs. Williams is spot on. Yes? Because beyond the numbers, the raw numbers, a literacy rate of 88%, we shouldn't be happy about. It's much better than where we're coming from. But really we should be at 100%. 100%. And nothing less than 100%. And I go further. In today's world, the complexities of the modern world, the 21st century, demands, yes, those complexities demand that it's not good enough to just be able to recognize words and to read and write. We now need to be able to think critically. We now need to have an education system that ensures that every child, by the time they get to 9, 10, 12, they have a very inquisitive mind. They have the ability to think, and most importantly, to make good decisions. Yes? Good decisions to protect themselves, their bodies, and form relationships, whether at the personal level or the professional level. So, it's not good enough to just say you're literate these days, but can you think critically? Because part of the problem we're having with our politics is the fact that so many of our people are not able to think critically and to be able to sift through what politicians tell them. Because you have so many political charlatans who trade on the ignorance, the inability to think, the inability to make connections, the inability to be numerate. Yes, they're not numerate. So they come and they tell you foolishness. Because they know that you can't think it through or you have to depend on somebody else. And that is the challenge we face today. It's no longer just about literacy and numeracy. It's about how to make connections, how to find information, how to use information. That's what it is about today. Also coming out of the education conference yesterday was a call from the president of the Jamaica Teachers Association, Mr. Leighton Johnson. He called on the Ministry of Education to ensure that the funding provided to institutions of learning, that funding should match the needs of those schools, those institutions. Yes? Because some schools require different levels of funding. Yeah. Some schools are endowed, not only in terms of the faculty that they have, their teaching force, but in terms of their resources, their laboratories, the support systems they get, while others are poor in those areas and need different levels of funding. Here's more from Mahiri Stewart on that.
The JTA's 60th annual conference is being held under the theme Full Steam Ahead, Advancing Digital and Future Skills. The theme references the sector's push for better implementation of STEAM, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, the Arts, and Mathematics. The JTA president cited factors such as population and school programs as ones that influence the level of funding a school requires.
I therefore urge the Ministry of Education at this time to review its funding arrangements for our schools and ensure that allocations made to schools are done equitably. It is no secret that some schools need more resources than others based on the levels of students enrolled and the programs required to make those students functional.
As part of the push for STEAM implementation, Mr. Johnson wants to see adequate funding issued to ensure that schools island-wide have the necessary broadband connectivity.
Minister, urgent attention must be given to those institutions that do not have consistent and stable internet connectivity, as well as those early childhood and primary schools that need assistance in establishing a constant and reliable network across their compounds so that everybody has access to internet wherever they are on their compounds.
The JTA president is urging stakeholders to help contribute to the association's goals of providing up-to-date technology for classrooms island-wide.
We continue to urge our corporate sponsors to partner with our educational institutions to provide more mobile labs and other essential technological resources to ensure that our students receive the best possible educational experiences which are aligned to 21st century global standards.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Thank you, Mahiri. Well, I did say the principal of Arden, Nadine Malloy, and then an avid listener said to me in a WhatsApp message, she's no longer principal at Arden, you know, Cliff. She's now at Shortwood Teachers College. Nadine is now the principal of Shortwood Teachers College. She left Arden. That is news to me. So I called her. Got her. And listener, she says she is still the principal of Arden, but she's now on secondment to Shortwood. Yeah? So you get the story half right. She's still the principal of Ardennes, but she's on secondment to Shortwood. And there may be more on that. Yes? So, yes, that is the situation where that is concerned. All right? It's 21 minutes going up to 11. You know, the people of Taiwan are this morning trying to come to terms with the most massive earthquake they have had in a quarter of a century, 25 years. A 7.4 magnitude earthquake struck Taiwan early this morning, overnight, our time. 7.4 magnitude is a massive quake. And you may have seen the pictures, the videos coming out of Taiwan. Yeah? What is amazing, so many buildings came down, roads destroyed, but only 9 persons so far are confirmed dead. 9. This is in comparison to the quake of 1999 in Taiwan, a similar magnitude earthquake, and that left more than 2,000 people dead. So far it is expected to rise, but not significantly. 9 confirmed dead as a result of this 7.4 magnitude earthquake. More than 100 people are trapped in collapsed buildings and tunnels and mountainous roads. Yeah? And I raise it this morning, you know, because I'm always very sensitive about earthquakes, because we live in an era which is prone to earthquakes. We have to take these things and learn from them. Yeah, we have to learn from them. And the big story from Taiwan this morning, the death toll is at a minimal, because they learnt their lessons, they revamped their building codes, yes, in several respects, and they're getting the rewards, because a 7.4 magnitude quake could have destroyed the whole place, could have killed thousands. That's not happening. Yeah, certainly as of now. We need to learn from those things. And I said to the contractors who know the rules, don't play by the rules to make a quick buck. When you do that, you're being criminal. When you know the standards and you don't build according to the standards, and you literally con people, scam people, and put up these buildings that are going up now. What was it, Nora? It was a 5.2 last year, or 5.3? 5.4 it was last October, which caught us in here. My oh God moment. 5.4. Can you imagine if we were to experience a 7, anything over 6, 7? That's the real test, you know, when you get up into 6 and 7. Yeah? That's when you know if you have done a good job.